Here we go. Why am I driving to the middle of nowhere to make a video about game streaming? Well, to answer that, let's answer a different question first. How many games should you bring with you when you travel? The answer is, of course, always one more. That backlog ain't gonna play itself, so better make sure to bring every game with you at all times just to be safe. Usually, you wouldn't take your entire living room with you, but if you're like me and you can't leave well enough alone, you start looking at other options. If you've seen some of my other videos on this channel, you'll know what I'm about to say. I've done a few videos on this topic now, and I'm starting to feel like I'm getting pretty good at it. Of course, what I'm talking about is installing all of your games and emulators on one gaming PC and using game streaming technology to stream those games from that central location to pretty much any device you could want. In previous videos, I've shown you how to set this up, but in this video, I want to show you why you would want to do it. The why behind the way. The reason you want to take the time to follow the tutorial to set this up for yourself. So for those who aren't familiar, game streaming in its simplest form means that you can play any game that can run on your PC at home anywhere else as long as you have a decent data signal. You can use your Wi-Fi at home to game around the house untethered from your desk or couch, or you could leave your house entirely with literally just your phone if you have good service and still be gaming. But for the best remote connections, of course, you'll want Wi-Fi rather than cell service. So if you're traveling to a hotel or Airbnb where you know there's Wi-Fi and don't want to choose which games to leave home, this video might just have the answers for you. So to better illustrate the use case of this game streaming methodology, I've put together a little stress test where I traveled to a remote cabin in upstate New York for the weekend and tried to stream my games from my gaming PC back home. Firstly, this cabin is remote, as in the nearest Walmart is an hour away and in a different country. The cabin had Wi-Fi, although probably the worst I've seen in a long while. But I was actually kind of happy with how crappy the Wi-Fi was because this is a stress test after all. There's no point in telling you that game streaming probably works really well on your own gigabit network at home. What we're trying to find out here is if we can use any old Wi-Fi and still be able to stream games from back home. When I got to the cabin and connected to the Wi-Fi, I did a speed test. We got about 10 megabytes down and somehow 20 megabytes upload. I'm not sure why it was faster on the upload than the download, but whatever, it's not my internet, so we press on. I popped my iPad Pro out of my bag and connected my Xbox controller via Bluetooth. Then I booted up the Moonlight app, which can connect to my gaming PC running Sunshine back home over the internet as long as it's been paired on the local network at least once, which of course we've done already. I then used Moonlight to launch the big box application, which has all of my games and emulators configured in a nice neat front end with organized console lists, cover artwork for every game, as well as other metadata via Launchbox. Any game that is in this list will boot up on my gaming PC back home and use the huge graphics card installed in that gaming PC rather than running on the iPad itself. Of course, all that graphics power isn't all that important to run something like Pokemon, but when we're trying to consolidate all our games and emulators into one place, it helps to be able to run AAA PC games on that same hardware so that we can focus on just using the one gaming PC for all our streaming needs. Anyway, just keep in mind that these games I'm choosing from the list here are running on the PC back home and not on the iPad itself. So I make my selection and the game boots up on the emulator on my gaming PC back home. My room in the cabin was on the floor below the router, so unfortunately the connection was a bit spotty down there. But sometimes a spotty connection like that doesn't really affect your gameplay if you're playing like a turn-based RPG like Pokemon. What we really can't have though is when the connection slows down to the point where it actually fails and closes your connection, because that gets real annoying real fast. But not to worry, thankfully the solution here was very simple. All I needed to do to have an instantly better connection was simply move closer to the router. As soon as I moved closer to the router, my connection was instantly better, to the point where I was able to ace the fire canyon as opposed to flying straight into the wall because of the lag. Oh yeah, by the way, I also brought my Quest 2 headset and switched to using Virtual Desktop as my streaming application just for kicks. Like Sunshine, as soon as you've configured Virtual Desktop to pair to your Virtual Desktop streamer application running on your PC at home at least once, then you can connect across any network anytime. So even though I was actually sitting in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York, I had virtually transported myself to a modern high-rise apartment above a city and was playing games on a virtual flat screen TV. I mean, how cool is that? I have to come clean here though. I didn't actually sit there and do this all weekend. Of course, I went to spend time with my family and I really just brought all this equipment with me just to test it out for an hour or so. So yes, don't worry about me. I enjoy being in nature just as much as being in virtual reality. Anywho, I wasn't able to drive my hover bike in a straight line while in the downstairs room, but once I moved upstairs closer to the router, I aced the mission no problem. So you get the idea. I was able to play and stream any game installed on my computer back home once I moved a bit closer to the router of this remote cabin in upstate New York. So you should be pretty much fine anywhere you can think of that has even half decent Wi-Fi. Whether that be the in-laws house, the hotel where you're staying on a boring work trip, or just a chill night at the Airbnb, relaxing after vacation, enjoying time with your family, etc., you can still catch up on your games. I've tested at hotels across the US and even once while visiting London, England, just to see if it would connect internationally, and it actually did. The only time I wish I had like a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally with me is when I'm actually on moving transportation, like a plane, train, bus, etc., where, your connection is moving, so it keeps interrupting. I usually just end up reading a book or downloading some shows to watch when I'm on moving transportation like that. But now that I'm saying it out loud, I've actually seen planes and trains advertise high-speed Wi-Fi if you pay a couple bucks. So I'm gonna have to test that now too. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more adventures with game streaming, like if I can stream games while flying in a plane. And if you're wondering how to get a setup like this going for yourself, well, I've made a full video tutorial on how to stream with Big Box, Moonlight, Sunshine, Playnite, Steam Link, a few other options there for you. So if you need help getting started, just watch some of those videos and of course ask any questions in the comments. So thanks for watching. Peace.